Welcome to Gerry's Open Metaverse, where I provide regular updates, intel and alpha on the most promising projects from Web3, driving the Open Metaverse, where users truly own and control their data and assets, and even the applications they use. Featured projects thus far include Jadu and their world-leading AR gaming platform, The Bloom, Vintage, bringing vintage collectible clothing to you in the Metaverse, Based AF, a Metaverse monster content creation studio, pumping out viral vids to compete with the likes of Mr. Beast, Walker World, and their open world and first-person shooter game, poised to onboard millions. Blocktones and their Grammy award-winning produced music, and their partners at the Hume Collective, a Web3 music label, creating the world's leading metastars. And of course, my regular episodes of Into the Futureverse, covering all aspects of the Futureverse ecosystem, including Fluff World, the Party Bears, Silo and the Seekers, the Altered State Machine, the Muhammad Ali Next Legends, the Atom Car Club, the FIFA AI League and the AFA All-Stars, plus a whole bunch more. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. Okay guys, thanks very much for joining me today. Just trying my hand at live streaming. Haven't really done a whole lot of that before, and it's something I want to do a lot more of moving forward. So to start with, in today's little show, I just wanted to cover some of the stuff that's happening with Walker World and their Walker Weekly tweets gone out, and I think it might have some connections to Fluff World and the Futureverse. So let's have a quick look. So this tweet came out saying eerie vibes await in Walker World. Buzzing sounds and a desolate wasteland set the scene for a post-apocalypse. And then it's saying, what's that object in the distance? Any guesses? So I'm not sure what this great big object in the background is, but let's have a quick look at the video and see if we can work out what's going on here. Does this have something to do with the Fluff World Futureverse Buzzies? Because we know that there's 3 families of those still to be revealed. And the next one is the Undead Buzzies, which we'll be revealing from a post-apocalyptic setting this week. So if we have a look at some of the Fluff World and the lore around the Buzzies, we can see that these guys have come from a wasteland. And if you have a look at the Buzzies website, it gives you even more details. So that's the wasteland, the location of the undead Buzzies. But what's interesting to me is that the actual scene that the Walker World video shows seems to match up more closely with the Cyber Buzzies. So is it the Cyber Buzzies perhaps that we're starting to see? And here's the lore for the Cyber Buzzies. So these guys have been trapped underground in a long since forgotten rail system. And maybe that object on the surface is summoning them or calling them out. And that cityscape would sort of match up more closely with what you're seeing in the Walker World video. So that would be interesting to see if that actually is the case. So what are your thoughts? Maybe let me know in the comments or hit me up on Twitter. Do you think this has something to do with the Buzzies? I mean, clearly there's a buzzing sound and it's a kind of electrical buzzy sound. So that would kind of match up with the Cyber Buzzies as well, you would think, but who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how that all comes about. So what am I working on this week? Well, I'm trying to get more sort of runs on the board in a live setting, because it's a whole new skill set, talking live, talking off the cuff. And I'm starting to co-host Twitter Space starting this week from on the Based AF project. So we're going to have a weekly based space, and I've got two wonderful co-hosts that are going to help me there. Obviously, a lot of the Fluffworld and Futureverse people will know Michelle. Michelle's going to be helping me out. She's also a mod for Based AF. And so is Ashith here. He's also a mod for Based AF, and he's also quite busy building out his own podcast, and he's quite prolific in Twitter Spaces as well. So he's going to help me along and show me the ropes of being a mod for Twitter Spaces, because it's not something I've done at all before. I've actually only been on Twitter Spaces twice as a speaker, so it's all new to me, and it's just another skill, and it's another way to get more regular content out to the community that doesn't take as much editing and as much planning. So that's what I'm working on this week, just trying to get in front of the camera in a live setting, and behind the mic in a live setting more regularly. And also I'm working on a video on the Otto blockchain, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand the significance of Otto. And, I think it's going to have a big part to play in the root network. Don't know what's happened there. Looks like, can you guys see that okay? Let me just try resizing it. It's going a bit weird, hasn't it? All right, we'll just persist with that. So the thing is with Otto, it's really misunderstood, I think. And a lot of people just don't get DeFi in general, but this thing has so much going for it. But I do think it's going to take a few years to sort of build out. And if you dive into the white paper, and if you've done any sort of stuff with DeFi before, you'll start to see some of the features down towards the bottom of the white paper that are really unique, and is going to give it a good opportunity to grow from. So basically it works as kind of like a multi-chain connectivity platform that has the assurances of a custodian in between. So native assets are deposited into the wallets on each blockchain and held by the custodian. And you can see that going in real time and verified on each of those blockchains. And then a one-for-one backed asset is issued on Otto, which is the equivalent of what's been held in the custodian. And that's how you have that extra layer of safety and protections, and it's compliant with regulations. And I think institutional money will be a lot more comfortable in that setting. So that's one aspect of it that's quite unique. And also, because of that, it's going to allow all these different assets, native assets on different blockchains, to actually interact together in a DeFi setting. And you've never had that before. So you could have some ADA from Cardano and put it in a liquidity pool with Ethereum, with Ether, and they can trade off against each other in real time. The other big thing is that you can start to compose indexes. So you could have a crypto index, say of 5 of the top 10 tokens, and the native tokens held in an insured custodian. So the institutions can sleep well at night knowing there's no smart contract bridging risks, things like that. But they can just buy with a single click, more or less, into the indexes on Otto and have that broad exposure across all of those assets. So that could be really interesting to see how that grows over time. And I mean, in theory, you could probably extend this to real world assets as well, which would be very interesting to see if you could start to have, tokenized, vintage cars, or, limited runs of whiskey, or something that's highly desirable and collectible that appreciates over time, but has all those burdens of having custody issues and not being very well, not divisible, that sort of thing. So that's where an index can really come in handy, and Otto has that sort of at its core. And it also has a bunch of other things that I think are really interesting too, especially when you're talking about launching new products and new tokens. I think there's a section at the bottom here where you've got things like a minimum liquidity threshold. So if you're trying to spin up a new token, you need to provide X dollars worth of liquidity, and then to entice people to trust that you're not going to rug that project and drain it of all the liquidity, you have to lock that liquidity in for a period of time. So that really protects a lot of investors from getting caught out with potentially, scams and rug pulls, and even, sometimes in crypto things just don't work out, benefit of the doubt, and founders might walk away from a project. But sometimes before that happens, they might drain all the liquidity and just, call it quits. Oh, I've got my money back or some money back. I'm going to get out. I'm going to get out and just leave the community high and dry. So it's going to help with things like that. And the other big thing is every user, every protocol, and in essence, every transaction is KYC compliant, because you have to be KYC compliant to even get onto this network. So that means when someone's trying to launch a new token, they don't need to worry about going through all those loopholes of collecting all of the client's information. They can know that they're regulatory compliant by having only KYC capable or eligible or verified, it's probably the word I'm looking for, KYC verified users and players. So that's sort of very useful as well, and it cuts out a lot of the burdens and overheads. And the way it's set up is it can be sort of composable as well to a certain extent. So your identity is kept private, but it is granular enough to say, this guy actually is an accredited investor in the US, for instance, to meet those regulations and restrictions. So it's quite clever the way that it's set up. It is going to take some time to grow and develop and get that trust and lock up a certain amount of value over time to prove that it's worthy and trustworthy and secure. But I really like what's in some of this white paper, so give it a read if you can. It's not overly technical. They've done a pretty good job of keeping it pretty high level. But if you jump into the Discord, the Otto blockchain Discord, there's a bunch of images that sort of distill it down even further and make it even easier to understand. So that's what I'm working on this week. Just wanted to get a quick video out to sort of, to work on the live presentation stuff. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.